How Europe affects us in our everyday lives now in EuroNews.
From here, the Darfur region in western Sudan offers a breathtaking view of a serene African landscape. But on the ground, the situation is far from calm. A contingent of 7,000 men from the African Union mission in Sudan are trying to stop the bloodshed that has claimed some 200,000 lives over the last 3 years. 2 million refugees have fled their villages to escape the brutal conflict between separatist rebel groups and militias closely aligned to the Sudanese government. The European Commission has been trying to mediate and convince Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir to accept a UN peacekeeping force. So far, Khartoum has been fiercely opposed, but José Manuel Barroso, President of the European Commission, is hopeful of persuading them to do otherwise.
Darfur is one of the regions in the world where there's terrible human distress. It's almost indescribable. What's happening there in terms of killings, rapes, and the destruction of human beings, families, and communities. There's been a step forward since the peace deal between North and South. There's been some progress with the Darfur peace agreement, but it's true that it's not working now. It doesn't work because there are some rebels who are continuing to take military action, and the Sudanese authorities are still fighting in the region too.
The European Commission's lightning visit to Sudan was meant to convince the Sudanese government that UN intervention would not create a source of instability for the Islamic regime in Khartoum, which is cooperating with the US in the war on terror. The African Union troops are trying to protect the distribution of food and humanitarian assistance as aid workers are under threat along with the local population. Since the AU mission will end in 3 months, the international community urgently needs to find a solution. But time is fast running out to save lives. Daniel Duvillier, head of the International Committee of the Red Cross in Darfur, says aid groups need to have access to as many people as possible.
For a year or so now, because of the various conflicts between armed groups, it's become increasingly difficult to get help through to the people who need it. The question we're asking ourselves is how much longer can people stay in the region without any assistance before they can be moved to refugee camps?
The Commission has announced it's giving a humanitarian aid package worth an extra 40 million euros to help displaced people and the victims of the militia attacks. Nigeria's President Olusegun Obasanjo has been perhaps Sudan's strongest critic, going as far as to describe the Darfur massacres as genocide. Other governments have been reluctant to use the term because an official accusation of genocide would require UN military intervention. Since 2004, the EU has provided aid worth 340 million euros to Darfur. But it's not enough for many humanitarian activists who claim the situation can only be improved through a comprehensive political agreement. The head of the World Food Programme to Darfur says finding a stable and secure solution is just as important as cash donations.
We're actually distributing the food through non-governmental organizations, NGOs. The African Union troops that are here, we don't work with directly, but our sense is that if we did not have this kind of presence, our work would be even more difficult than it is now.
UN troops are badly needed, but few openly admit it, like one of the colonels from the small EU contingent supporting the African Union.
I think we'd need between 8,000 and 10,000 additional units just to control the territory. Of course, everything must be coordinated with the Sudanese government and with the Sudanese military forces.
Barroso's commission wants to mediate between Sudan rebel factions, the international community and other countries in the region. But President al-Bashir fears for Sudan's integrity as well as his own destiny, according to Louis Michel, the EU's Development and Aid Commissioner.
There's a feeling here that any foreign intervention mission could be used by their enemies to destabilize or topple the government. This is a region where there's a concentration of explosive elements, fundamentalism and a clash of religious and cultural civilizations. It's tempting for some to use these elements as a way of furthering their own political agenda. If we don't have a strategic plan, a political solution, then we're taking enormous risks in the Horn of Africa.
In fact, the crisis in Darfur is one of several conflicts in the Horn of Africa that's causing widespread bloodshed. Addis Ababa, capital of neighboring Ethiopia, was the second step of Barroso's African tour. There was the opportunity for a meeting between the head of the EU Commission and the head of the African Union Commission, an institution inspired by its European counterpart. African countries can't just be the victims and passive recipients, according to the president of the African Union Commission.
Our friends in the EU, I stress that, have a partnership approach which suits us very much. They understand that Europeans won't be making policy in the region. That will be up to Africans themselves. They only want to reinforce the presence of AU troops in Sudan before any deal is reached to allow other forces to enter.
Puisse amener le Soudan à accepter que d'autres forces viennent. J'accompagne le... Je combat, mais après, je te laisse. Non, je t'accompagne, parce que tu as un autre programme.
The European and African Commission's bilateral meeting in Addis Ababa was also the opportunity for the EU to finalize a global aid package. 55 million euros will be dedicated to enhancing African Union institutions and political efficiency. They also agreed to establish a permanent exchange of officials between the two commissions to support regional governance. A commitment was made too to provide additional support for the Erasmus Mundus program to allow for more well-qualified African students to come to Europe for graduate education. Strong ties between the EU and the African Union may play a crucial role in helping to stabilize the Horn of Africa. Bringing about an end to the Darfur conflict for a start would represent a major political breakthrough and the first step on the way to resolving other problems in the region as well as across Africa.